Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Surfside, California. We're sandwiched between Seal Beach and Huntington Beach here in beautiful Southern California. It's a little cool. It's overcast. Looks like it could have a few showers here this morning. I don't think so, but it's got that fall feel to it. And we've got a lot to cover with you. I mean, things have changed so much since the last time we talked to you. There was some weather, and I mean really tough weather, that had all kinds of boats all huddled up at Pyramid Cove at San Clemente Island. And not much got accomplished on those bluefin tuna grounds. New stuff south of the border and so much more. You know what time it is. It is time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh my God, delicious.
These guys. I love it, man.
Truly great to be back with you all, and thanks so much for your great and loyal support, helping Friedman Adventures to climb statistically, and I can't thank you enough for that. Thousands of you watch the morning briefing, and it's just been great. Hey, one way you can support us right now, and it really helps us a lot, is hit that thumbs up. Give us a like right now, please. It would mean a lot to us. Sharing our videos is also another great way to support Friedman Adventures. And of course, subscribing on our YouTube channel. All of that helps us to move up in the algorithms. And man, I'll tell you, without you, we wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are right now. Hey, first things first, couple of guys have COVID on our Relentless trip. We're departing this Saturday night at 9 p.m. from H&M Landing on board the Relentless. It's a day and a half trip, $450, includes all your meals. I'll be there to shoot a new Friedman Adventures video, and there'll be a lot of fun people on that trip, including Chef Jason. You gotta love him. The life of the party, as I like to call him. He loves to fish, and he's always a lot of fun, and several other great Friedman Adventure family members. So 2 spots available. Just send me a text and I'll get you on that trip. 657-227-6459. All right, folks, let's get into this all right now because there's a lot of stuff changing. Incidentally, the Bisbees is going on down there in Cabo San Lucas. I think over $11 million up for grabs. Sean Morgan is out on the wild and sack this morning. He's been checking in with me. It's been slow overall. We'll continue to watch that and, of course, have the final results for you when it's all tallied up. We'll see where all the big bucks go. And, of course, fingers crossed that Sean comes up with a winning fish. That would really be fantastic. All right, nice weather forecast in the future. As we have been telling you for several days now, we were going to have weather out there in that bluefin tuna zone. I'm starting there just to tell you that it was nasty. I mean, it was so nasty that everybody piled up there in Pyramid Cove. It was a crowded mess there in the cove. So lots of boats getting out of some really bad weather, windy and a big swell, and it messed things up, and it degraded the ocean's environment. Water temperatures have dropped. The water clarity isn't as good as it once was. So will it rebound now in this nice weather? And that's a guess, and I'm guessing that it will. It might take a couple of days, but we've got some nice weather now, and hopefully we'll be able to put together some really good fishing. Also, at San Clemente Island, the U.S. Navy's been bombing the hell out of that place, so they've been closing parts of the island also. So some boats, intended to go fish yellowtail in this spot, and it got closed down. We've been seeing some of that also. When we were out on our Legends trip, incidentally, watch that video. It is such a great video. The legends of sport fishing on board the Freedom the other day, but we could hear the shelling going on as they are putting national security at a high level right now. And our armed forces, hats off to the men and women who serve our great country. They are so dedicated, and they give so much, sometimes the ultimate sacrifice, so that you and I can go fishing, so that you and I can live our lives in liberty and freedom. So hats off to our armed forces. All right, let me take you south of the border down to Ensenada and tell you that they are dealing with water temperatures that are dropping. Now, here's the deal. You got to find the right kelp patty to get a bite down there. But also, to make it a little more complicated, this goes for the San Diego fleet who's making a left-hand turn. You've got to find a kelp patty in the warm water. If you find it in the cooler water, you're not going to find any yellowfin on that. You might find an occasional dorado, but not really. A lot of dry kelps, and principally because they're in that cooler water. You find them in the warmer water, your odds go right up. So, you know, the San Diego fleet and the Ensenada Pongueros are all trying to focus on that warm water and praying to the Lord above that they find a kelp in that warmer water. That's the way you are going to get it done. A little bit hit and miss down there, but still some big bonita and a lot of jig fish right now. We're catching more yellowfin on the troll when you get on that right sonar mark or find a pot of dolphin that's holding. That's something that is occurring with greater frequency right now. Trolling albacore style feathers, old school kind of feathers, getting bit. You go into a jig strike, go into a stop, throw some bait, and pick a few fish, sometimes better than that. I know that the Spirit of Adventure coming back up the line found some really big sonar marks, nice looking stuff, and caught some fish, but there was more that he saw than he caught. So that area, again, had a little wind on it. It's nice now. It's going to be lovely for the next several days. So that should improve things an awful lot. Remember, tackle is so important, whether you're on the Pongueros or out with the Pongueros or out of San Diego. 25-pound outfit and a 40-pound outfit. You definitely want to have that. Opsin Fluorocarbon. We love Opsin. www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. Fish that, and you have a really good chance. Now, in some cases, fish are finicky. In some cases, they're wide open. Be observant. Watch what's going on. You go to your heavy and a bigger hook when it's wide open, and you're dropping down when you see, 6, 7, 8, 10 more dorado than that, and they won't bite. You can't get a bite. You go to your light stuff and smaller hooks. So a number 2 size hook to a 2.0 size hook, that should have you covered really, really well in this bite right now. So keep that in mind, and I think that will help you a great deal. We love those blacktail hooks. Our friend Sky over there at Best Fishing Tackle, such a great guy, and those are nice hooks at an affordable price, and they're working just fine on this grade of fish down there in that neck of the woods. So once again, we are seeing quite a bit of tuna south of the border, but it has been reluctant to bite in most cases. Now, you are also starting to see more and more yellowtail in the count that they are catching on kelps south of the border. It is on small grade yellowtail for the most part. There's a few bigger fish, but the vast majority are what we would refer to as rats, pejoratively. 5-pound yellowtail grade like that. So when you see all those yellowtail in the count right now, they are mostly smaller grade. Some of those fish bite the iron. I know Scott Bucher was out on the Sea Adventure 80, had 3 yellowtail. Scott graces the cover of this morning's morning briefing in full Daiwa gear. He's all dressed up with his Daiwa stuff. He's a big supporter of Daiwa, and we love Scott. He does such a great job. He said an 80-gram Daiwa Sakana worked well on that small grade yellowtail. It'll also work really, really well on that yellowfin tuna if you get into that, if you find it. And my guess is that this is going to come back now that we get into some nice weather. We're going to get this period now of probably over a week, it looks like, at least if the long-range forecast is correct, of some really nice weather. And that can't hurt one bit at all. So once again, you have a couple of choices as you come out of Point Loma. Hang a left and go down, try to find a kelp. You find the right kelp in the warm water, it's full speed, wide open dorado. You find the right sonar mark down that way and get a jig strike on some yellowfin tuna, it's wide open yellowfin tuna. You can find a few bluefin mixed up down there, and then kelps holding that small grade yellowtail. Some of you are going to return those fish, some are going to keep them. That is up to the angler. It is legal to take those fish. Now, the other side of the coin is you don't find that kelp, you don't get that jig strike, you don't find that sonar mark, and you have a really slow trip. So just so you know, I want you to be tuned in to the exact situation that is transpiring right now. And as you know, fishing is so volatile that one day it's like that and the next day it's wide open. So you're a kelp patty or a jig strike or a sonar mark away from some really wide open fishing. We'll continue to watch it. Pongueros down there in Ensenada, incidentally, told me they have been seeing, quite a bit of marlin down that way. So there's a lot of marlin around, and that doesn't surprise me. In that warm water is where you're going to find them. Now, how far south? There's fish outside of Todos Santos Island, and that's where the Pangueros are getting them, all the way down there to 100 miles. So on a day and a half trip, you can get down there to 100 if you have to. Hopefully you'll find fish in that 80, 90 mile range, but you can run all the way down there and have the whole day to fish and find the kelp. And when you got the whole day, sunrise to sunset on a day and a half trip, man, your odds go through the roof in terms of finding that right kelp. Is it a slam dunk? Not by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a possibility. Now, we're going to have to see what happens. Did that water degrade in that big bluefin tuna area to the point where it's off the bite? So, for example, on our Relentless trip, we're going to make that decision. I'm not the captain. The guy actually knows what he's doing way more than I do. He's going to make it based on current intel. That's why I can't tell you today what we're going to do Saturday night. It would be foolish to do that, because what if we get some great late intel? Are we going to stick to our game plan that we come up with today? No, we're going to make our decisions based on current intel. So out there in that area, those fish were biting in the daytime pretty well. They are reluctant to bite heavy line. 30, 40 pound fluoro is working really, really well. A good hot bait, and sometimes a long soak, leaving that bait out there for a long time, and you finally end up with a bite. If you can get bit on the 60 pound, when you see that 100+ pound bluefin tuna around, you'll have half a chance with it. And then the nighttime fishing, again, 100 to 130 pound spectra, 200 pound leader material, and those heavy knife jigs and the flat falls, all of those SK jigs by Dawa working really, really well, 200 to 500 grams depending on wind and current. You're going to choose one of those. So keep that in mind. Pacifica limits on the yellowfin tuna here on a recent trip. Nothing wrong with that. Several other boats, however, struggled, even multi-day trips, 3-day trips, had some really tough fishing. You know, a lot of guys got caught in that weather. So they went up there to fish that bluefin tuna, and they got caught in that really tough weather and couldn't get anything accomplished. And then the Navy's shelling the hell out of the island. You can't go to where you want to go there. Some guys made the decision to go down south and fish that smaller grade yellowtail and try to get on a shot of yellowfin like the Pacifica did. But a lot of tough fishing. Now, those boats leaving in the morning, coming back in the evening, many of those guys didn't get out today because of a lack of reservations. It's been really tough there in that local zone. And I'm going to call that, you know, like zero, well, not zero, but 15 to 50 mile zone where there had been really good Dorado fishing, but it's really hit and miss right now. They're seeing it. They're seeing a lot of yellowfin. They're seeing a lot of bluefin, but it just hasn't gotten on the bite here recently. Some of those guys, like the San Diego, are saying, you know what? We're going back to the Coronado Islands where the yellow bite has been outstanding. I'll get into that in a moment. But November 1st, San Diego had a Seaforth that's going to the Coronado Islands. There's some really good fishing there. I wouldn't pass that up. I think it's even better than the offshore. Obviously better right now, but even on other days, everybody was hung up on that offshore thing while they're catching anywhere from 30 to 100 yellows at the Coronado Islands. That is still going on. So a lot of variables right now. Water temperatures reducing, the water clarity reducing out in that big bluefin tuna area. Will it recoup now with this nice weather? These are all questions that'll be answered in the coming days right here on the morning briefing as we watch it all very, very closely for you. All right, let's talk islands right now. Take you down there to Ensenada, and of course Todos Santos Island has a few yellows at times, pretty darn good, a lot of big bonita, a few calico bass, decent rock fishing going on there. We move you up to the Coronado Islands, which we referenced just a moment ago, and there is actually some really good yellowtail action. You roll down South Kelp Ridge, down to the rock pile, and there's some good fishing on yo-yo iron. So the yellows are deep fall fishing, is typical yellowtail fishing for that area. You drop your jig down deep, wind on it fast, and you hope to get a bite on 40 or 60 pound, 12 to 18 pound yellowtail for the most part. And then also you can come up with fish on the dropper loop. It's been pretty good there. There's rockfish and big bonita wandering around there. San Clemente Island, we talked about that a little bit. Once again, there at SCI, we have some closures due to the shelling. If you can get around that, it's very hit and miss. Some days you can catch some yellowtail, other days it's straight bonita and calico bass. it's a little bit up and down. Same thing at Catalina Island. We have seen some decent fishing on yellowtail, but very sporadic right now. Pops up and bites, especially if you have live squid in the tank, and then it doesn't bite. So inconsistent. A lot of bonita, some small bonita, some big bonita, and of course a lot of guys are resorting now to rockfish. And I say resorting because a lot of guys like to focus on the surface stuff, but resorting ends up with some great table fare, wonderful eating fish. The multitude of rockfish we have here in Southern California provide table fare that is second to none. It's so darn good. Santa Barbara Island, that weather's finally starting to come down, but still a little breezy here this morning. Rockfish, few yellows and sea bass there, and also up there in the Channel Islands, we continue to see a few sea bass, halibut, copious amounts of rockfish up there in that neck of the woods. There's also, for some of the six-pack guys, there's been some nice hits on sea bass at Clemente. There's been some nice hits on sea bass at Cat, but the larger sport boats have not been getting in on that. It's mostly those smaller guys that have had some really exceptional fishing at times on WSB in this late kind of a fall bite. So that is all really good news. Along the coastal regions, kind of slow right now, a little bit of bass up and down the coast from Ensenada to the Channel Islands, mostly sculpin and rockfish. That has been the name of the game for boats up and down our coast. And in the surf here, still a few corvina, but really not that great, and a few yellowfin croaker hanging around, spotfin croaker starting to come on. As the water temperatures come down, you're going to see those barred perch start to bite, and they are a lot of fun. I love fishing for barred perch. That is fantastic. Hey, I left out up there in Santa Barbara, coral sea stardust, all those guys, copious amounts of delicious eating rockfish. Ventura sport fishing, more of the same. Lots of whitefish and rockfish and that kind of thing in that neck of the woods. So we are in a state of flux right now. There is no doubt about that. We're going to see where the chips fall. We've had that weather. It's blown through. It's still a little breezy, but it's coming down beautifully right now. Man, those pelicans are just thumping the beach. I like that, man. There's some bait here in on the beach. Might be some halibut or yellowfin croaker along with it. Hear those little devils, those seagulls, man? They're all over that stuff. So anyway, we're in this state of flux. We'll see where the chips lie. Still have some good opportunities south of Point Loma. Smaller grade yellowtail. I know a lot of you are not interested in that, but there is a chance at wide open Dorado if you find that right kelp in the warm water. And also yellowfin, I think, will play a more important role here in the coming days. I think you're going to see a lot more of that fish, and hopefully on the Relentless, we're going to slam dunk them. Don't forget, 2 spots open. You want them? Jump on them right now, 657-227-6459. Incidentally, that big bluefin tuna is starting to move around. There's fish on the Butterfly Bank right now. There's fish between Catalina and Clemente. There's a lot of bluefin everywhere. We just need that light switch to go on, and the light switch was off principally because of some fierce winds. Now, they're getting out of the picture. We'll see if it wants to come back and bite really, really fast. As always, I really appreciate it. There are some great new shows that have dropped. Big fish, how to catch them. Man, Brian Wynn and Roger Eckhart, they go through it. Everybody is loving that. Go over there, watch that video. Teaches you how to take on big fish. Give it a like, please. Give us a like here this morning. Don't forget our Legends trip. A bunch of the old sport fishing captains from SoCal out on the Freedom the other night. I was fortunate enough to have been there. There's a lot of joking going around. There's over 40 bluefin that get taken, including some 100-pounders at night. And there's some interviews with captains that you may not have seen for decades. It's nice to see those guys doing so well. So make sure you check that out also. We'll continue to watch it all for you very, very closely. Thanks for subscribing to Friedman Adventures. Good morning. Another dear friend walking by, walking his dog. Always good to see all the lovely people here in Surfside. And we'll see you again a little bit later. As always, you have my deep thanks. Give us a like. Thanks again, and I hope to see you really, really soon.